A classic New York character. Episode 2 of Elsbeth starts with the introduction of the episode's murder victim, Gloria Bletcher, who is the president of her building's co-op board meeting. She is strict, dictatorial, and against everything the other board members and residents want to do, including selling their apartments. However, during the board meeting, they bring in the high-end real estate agent Joanne Lennox, who says that Oprah Winfrey offered to buy 4 units. The life-changing money is not Gloria's motivation, and she blatantly blocks the sale, saying that celebrities will disrupt the peace by bringing paparazzi to their doorsteps. Later that night, Gloria and her son Louis head out to get some soup, allowing Joanne to climb up her apartment from the unit below her and loosen the bolts on her balcony. Gloria suddenly remembers that she might have left the gas on, so she returns to the apartment alone while Louis buys the soup. Inside the condo, Gloria hears some noise from the balcony, but she does not think much about it when she turns on the lights and sees no one. Joanne climbs down to the apartment below and waits outside the lounge for Louis. She hands her a listing showing that her mother has put up his apartment for sale, and he angrily heads up to the apartment to confront her. As they argue, Dorothy's dog keeps barking, irritating Gloria, and she heads out to the balcony like she always does to yell at her. The dog Gloria ends up falling to her death when she leans on the balcony railings. Elsbeth arrives at the scene, and as she listens to Dorothy's testimony as the eyewitness, she starts questioning the story's differences from the crime scene. The detective in charge calls Kaya to the side for a talk, and Elsbeth gets to ask Dorothy, who says that Gloria was a classic New York character, but the relationship between her and her son has not been the same since her husband left 30 years ago. The following day, the detective questions the doorman, and Elsbeth listens. Then, Joanne arrives to check the house for sale and says that the police called her since one of her listings for the sale of Louis's apartment was found at the scene. Elsbeth recognizes Joanne Lennox and asks her for help finding an apartment. Elsbeth asks for her card but says she left her bag at the office. However, on the way out, Elsbeth and Kaya notice she leaves the apartment with a handbag. Elsbeth and Kaya are having a friendly talk when she gets a call from Celentano asking for an update about Captain Wagner. Kaya gets suspicious and tries to listen in on the call, but then they head to listen in on the detective questioning Louis. Elsbeth bursts into the interrogation room carrying treats to stop the detective from coercing the suspect. She talks calmly with Louis, and he tells her his mother seemed surprised by the listing. Elsbeth thinks that Joanne might have jumped the gun. The detective reports Elsbeth to Captain Wagner for overstepping when Kaya shows them the forensic report indicating that the bolts of the railings were deliberately loosened. Therefore, while the detective thinks that the murder is a crime of passion, the evidence suggests that it was premeditated. Louis does not fit the bill, and Wagner asks the detective to investigate. Wagner asks Elsbeth to stop actively investigating since her job is to observe and report. Elsbeth called Joanne and wants to see Leonard's unit below Gloria's. She notices the concrete countertops and realizes he is responsible for the sidewalk repair below Gloria's apartment. Coincidentally, Leonard describes Gloria as a classic New York character, although it is not the same since her husband left. Elsbeth snoops around the balcony and finds residues of some powder in the walls, which she takes to the forensics. Before she leaves, Louis comes back and shouts from outside the apartment that he is back and innocent, which seems to anger Joanne. She takes the wrench to loosen the rails and buries it in Louis's weed garden, where Dorothy's dog finds it. Elsbeth and Kaya bond, and she opens up about her son Teddy, who is in D.C. Elsbeth is considering settling in New York so her son can visit her. Just then, the detective walks in to update them on the wrench found buried in Louis's garden, which has his fingerprints. During interrogation, Elsbeth tosses something on Louis, and he catches it with his right hand. She thinks that he could not have used his left hand to loosen the bolts because the fingerprints on the wrench are from his left hand. While they deliberate, Louis remembers how his fingerprints got on the wrench when he helped the neighbor pick it up. Coincidentally, when they question the woman Lewis helped pick the wrench, she echoes the words of other residents, calling Gloria a classic New York character. Elsbeth finds Joanne at a rock climbing gym, and she learns that the sticky white powder found on the wall helps with the grip. Joanne is frustrated by Elsbeth's questioning and asks her to send a detective, but she says she is not there to discuss the case and intends to buy Leonard's apartment. Elsbeth then mentions Joanne's original surname, Grzecki, which spooks her, and she immediately wants to know how Elsbeth knows her mother's name. She says that when looking up Joanne's contacts, she Googles her and finds her mother's obituary, and Joanne says that her mother is her greatest inspiration. Elsbeth takes the grip powder to forensics, which matches the one she found on the walls. Therefore, the detective on the case agrees with her theory as they report the updates to Wagner. Suddenly, a man walks into the police station demanding to see Wagner because he must answer what is happening at Floral. When Celentano calls, Elsbeth tells him about the confrontation, which seems worthwhile to him. Kaya and Elsbeth find the gold mine, which has 40 years' worth of board meeting agendas, but she leaves Kaya to read through the minutes while she rushes to Joanne to finish the sale details. Elsbeth asks for the latest board meeting minutes and sees that Joanne's copy does not include Oprah Winfrey's offer, and Gloria is against the sale. Joanne is furious and attempts to throw out Elsbeth, but she is not one to be intimidated. She sternly orders her to submit her financials and set up a meeting with the co-op board immediately. Then, she heads back to read the minutes with Kaya. However, Lewis mentions something about a dumbwaiter that provides Elsbeth with the missing pieces to the puzzle to support her findings. Therefore, during the meeting set up by Joanne to vet whether she is suitable to buy a unit in the apartment, Elsbeth takes advantage to show how the co-op members all conspired with Joanne to murder Gloria. After she finishes and the police arrive, the other board members quickly turn on Joanne and take plea deals, especially when they learn that there was no offer from Oprah. Surprisingly, Joanne is not motivated by money but by revenge because after Gloria's husband falls in love with her mother, he wants to leave Gloria and elope with her mother. However, Gloria framed her mother for theft and threw them out of the apartment, and they had to struggle until her mother died. Joanne is not remorseful and says that everything was all worth it. At the end of the episode, Wagner congratulates Elizabeth for helping them solve 4 homicides, with the 4th being Lewis, whose mummified body was found inside the walls of Gloria's apartment. The episode review. In this episode, we learn more about the characters as a bond of friendship forms between Elsbeth and Kaya. Moreover, it subtly introduces a possible theme of betrayal in the upcoming episodes when Kaya figures out Elsbeth's real motive. At the end of the episode, I was confused when Wagner said that Elsbeth had helped solve 4 homicides because there should be 3, including the college student in episode 1, Gloria, and her husband. Who do you think is the 4th victim? I might have missed something. Regardless, the episode builds up the tension without squeezing in too much exposition to the narrative, and I cannot wait to see what Elsbeth gets herself into in the next episode.